Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Charlotte Burns and today I would like to show you how to make what I'm calling the half star card, and I'm calling it that because if I put it like that it kind of looks like half a star. Now this particular pattern, I received a card for Christmas from a very wonderful friend of mine called Karen, and I copied the pattern and then created this. This card does fit in a 5" by 7" envelope. So if you're wondering, does it fit in an envelope? It certainly does. I'm going to recreate this one with some different papers, patterns, and that sort of thing, and show you just some differences that you can do. So without any further ado, let's start. I have written up instructions for this, so if you'd like to receive them, just let me know. But this is the list of things you need. So you need one piece of cardstock. It can be any colour that you want. So you can see on this one I've used Glacier, and this one I'm using Candy Apple. It's 5 inches high by 7 inches wide. So that's one. Another piece that you need is 5 inches by 5 inches. Now just a cutting tip with this, if you're cutting this from a 12 by 12, this is simply a 5-inch strip of paper that you cut at 5 inches or 7 inches, and those two pieces are what you need for your card. So one 5 by 7, which I'm popping up to the top, and a 5 by 5 that I'm putting to the side because we need to do something with that. Then you need one piece of cardstock that is 2 inches by 6.5 inches, and two pieces of cardstock that are 1.5 inches by 6.5. 1.5 by 6.5. Now these are a little bit more tricky because unfortunately you can't get two lengths from one 12 by 12 sheet of paper, but what you can do is you can get 3 pieces from a 5" by 6.5 piece of cardstock. Now as a side note, it would have been better had I cut one piece like this and then scored it, which is what I'm about to do, then cut these horizontal lines, but I didn't do that. So you'll just have to put up with me scoring these as well. So that's what you need for your base. This will be your base piece. This is your center, and then this is your center box. The wider one is your center box. These are what I would call your other boxes. The other thing you might like is, just because if we have a look at this one, because there's nowhere really to write on here, I've put a piece of white cardstock on the back. So you can then use another piece of cardstock, white or any light colour, to go on the back. And this one is 4 3/4 high by 6 3/4 wide. So if we look at this, it's a little bit dark to write on. So by popping that on the back, it just gives us a nice white piece of cardstock to write on. So there's that one as well. Then for the matting and the pattern paper, what we want is, now I've used gold foil cardstock for the matting. Unfortunately, we don't have that anymore at Close to My Heart. So with my kits, what I am actually offering the ladies now is some holographic paper, which looks fantastic. But for this particular video, I'm using the gold. These pieces are 4 3/4. You need two pieces that are 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. So that's 3 1/4. And then two pieces that are 4 3/4 by 2 1/4. So there's one and there's another one. And again, if you cut one strip that is 4 3/4 and then cut two that are 3 1/4 and two that are 2 1/4, you'll get that out of a 12-inch strip of paper. So you need those pieces there. Then for the pattern paper, you want two pieces that are 4.5 by 3 inches. So there's my 4.5 by 3 inches. Two pieces that are 4.5. Now I know they look like they're not 3 inches, but they are 4.5 by 2 inches. And these are actually the back of that paper. So if you're using double-sided paper, then that's fantastic because you can just flip it over. You can see on this one, you've got one pattern here, another pattern here, and then these two small pieces here, these are 1 1/4 wide by 1 3/4 high. Now that's very important when it comes to directional paper. So if you have directional paper, do make sure that you're cutting it these 2 inches wide and 4.5 inches high, because otherwise your pattern is going to be going the wrong way. So that is all the pieces that you need, and then a few scraps for decorating, and also some acetate if you want to do these little stars. Now, before we start sticking things down, we need to do something with these 4 pieces of cardstock, and that is we need to score them. I personally would give this a 10 out of 10 because it is fantastic cardstock. I love the fact that it's nice and thick. I love the fact that it's two-toned, so one side is slightly lighter than the other, which is great, but that's not the type of scoring we're talking about. We're talking about scoring it, placing a mark on it, which makes it easier to fold. So this piece, the 5 inches by 5 inches, getting ahead of myself there, needs to be scored at 2.5 inches, and we're just going to come straight down. Now, if you don't have a scoring board, you can use a trimmer or anything that you use to do scoring with. So that one's just scored at 2.5. These pieces are scored at 1.5, 3, 4.5, and 6. If you are using a scoreboard, make sure that you do push it up to the top after every score. What I've found is that scoring it down like that can sometimes drag the cardstock down, which will then give you an uneven score line. So we'll just quickly score these. As I mentioned before, if you had them all together and you hadn't cut them, it would make for a lot faster scoring. Okay, so we've got our scored pieces, and the first thing we want to do is add our shiny paper to our base and center cardstock pieces. So I'm going to grab out, I've got my little containers with my adhesives and my tools, and I'm going to grab out my refillable ink, yes, good. My refillable adhesive. I will take my foil paper and stick these down. Now, when you're sticking these down, you want to make sure, and I've used this word before, that it's equidistant from the top and bottom as it is from the side. Don't worry about the middle, but it's equal distance, or equidistant. So we do that, and then we do the other one. And when we have this one nicely squared up, what you'll find is there's a bigger gap in the middle, which is exactly what we want. And you'll see why as the card comes together. So we've done the base, and now we want to do the smaller shiny cardstock onto the centerpiece. So again, putting adhesive around the outside. Lining it up to the edges. And there we go. So we've got the shinies stuck down. Next of all, what we want to do is we want to put the pattern paper onto the shinies. We're going to leave these little pieces for the moment, and we're just going to add these larger pieces onto the shinies. So let's get them stuck down. To line them up, I literally just eyeball them and make sure that it's the same distance from all of the edges, making sure it's up the right way. Now I did turn that around, so when I stick this down, I will have to make sure that I'm concentrating and that it is going up the correct direction. I do not want to stick it like this. I do want to stick it like this. Now, if you look at this and go, well, how can you stick that so straight? Just keep practicing, girls. Just keep practicing. It will come to you. Very sticky. Again, making sure they're up the right way. And there we have it. Doesn't that look fantastic? Now, I actually picked the red because of these little flowers in the background. And I think that it just makes it look amazing. So now we've done that, we're going to take the boxes and we're going to fold these with mountain folds to create 3 tunnels. Now, if you don't know what a mountain fold is, I'm about to show you. When we fold something, so we've done a score line here and we fold it, that is a mountain fold. That is a valley. So it's the same fold, it just depends on how you're looking at it. The reason why we have a term mountain and valley is because if I said I want you to fold it mountain, valley, you would know to go mountain, valley, mountain, valley. This particular piece of paper, we want to fold mountain folds all the way around to create a tunnel. So another tip is when you are folding, don't always trust your score line. Line up your paper with the next score line and then press it down. Line it up with the next score line and again lining up so that the edges are nice and flush as well. Press it down. Bring this one over. Now that one obviously won't line up with the next score line, but we can certainly line it up with the edges, press it down, and then the final one we're going to fold over and press that down as well. So you can see I've done mountain fold, mountain fold, mountain fold, mountain fold, and I now have a tunnel. Let's do that with the other 2 pieces. And we're done. We now have 1, 2, 3 tunnels, kind of tunnels. The next step is to miter the corners of these on the smallest flap. So this is the smallest flap, and to miter a corner we need a pair of scissors. So let me grab out my scissors, and all we need to do is just cut a little bit off the edge like that. Do it on the other side. And what this means is that when we tuck that inside there, it would just be neater than if we were to do it square like that. It just hides the edges a little bit, which looks nicer. So let's go ahead and do it on the other. And what I tend to do is I will put my scissors right on the score line, and then I will swivel them to the angle that I want to cut it. So put it on the score line and then swivel it to the angle I want to cut it. Very good. Then we're going to glue the small flap to the inside of each tunnel. Now the great thing about this flap is that it is 1/2 inch, which means that my tape runner fits perfectly. So I'm going to give that a couple of goes with my tape runner. And again, I could try and line it up like this, but the easiest way to do it is to fold this over, fold that over, and that will line it up perfectly for when it comes to putting it onto my card. So there's my first tunnel. Tunnel number 2. Maybe I shouldn't have folded it before I stuck it. That's okay. And tunnel number 3. Now you'll notice that 2 of the tunnels are shorter than the 3rd. These 2 are the ones that go on the inside, and this is the center one. So the 2 shorter ones go here and here, and then the larger one goes in the center. Next, what we do is we take the base cardstock and we're going to measure up from the bottom and place a mark at 1 3/4 inch. So just with a handy little pencil, and I'm going to use my Versamat because it's what I've got. I'm going to grab this one and come up 1 3/4 inch because I don't have a ruler handy. 1 3/4 inch. I'll actually come down to there, line that up on that side so that I know that that's straight, and I'm just going to put a little mark on here on either side, like so. Can you see that little mark? Awesome. Then having a look at our tunnels, what we want to do is find where the join is. Now where that joins, we want to put adhesive on that side. So there's the join. We're putting adhesive first on this side. So it's this side here, and having a look for the join, there's the join. We're putting adhesive on this side here. So we're going to put some adhesive on there, and this time I'm actually going to use my red tape, and the reason for that is because this supports the middle of the card, the center of the card. So I want this to be really nice and secure and sturdy. So I'm going to put some red tape onto this section here. And yes, you do want to make sure that you get it right to the edge. I'm actually going to come down like this and cut that off. And my red tape's running away. And I'll take these off just in case this last piece overlaps. Now, just a note about the red tape. What I have found is that it's very static. When you take the actual tape off, it likes to stick to you. So if you just do it like that, press it onto the table, a mat, something like that, it actually comes off, which is great. So this I want to put just over the edge of the gold paper and just covering that little mark that I made before. So stick it down like that, and then I'll do the other one. So the other one was this side here. And there's always room to learn. So this time I'm going to actually put the tape along these edges first. Take this tape off. Now the other thing is, when you're dealing with red tape, it can often not want to stick to your paper when you take the red backing off. So what I like to do is just push it down onto the paper, and then it makes taking that tape off a lot easier. So you can see just by pressing it onto the table, it's releasing from my finger and it's staying on the table. Now, the interesting thing about me doing these videos is that I learn as I go, and I have to wonder if this is best practice. If you see me do something and you think, Charlotte, I know a better way of doing that, or I know a different way of doing that, please, please let me know in the comments. So rather than use my finger, I'm actually going to use my scoring tool to press that down, because I can just see my finger is going to get all sorts of sticky. And if you've been following me for any length of time, you would know that I do not like getting sticky, messy, inky, nothing. See what I mean? It loves me. Okay, same deal with this one. We're going to line it up with the little line that I made, the little mark, and we're going to pop it on this side, like so. Now what we're going to do is we want adhesive on these two parts, and we're going to stick the center down in there. So let's see how that goes. Again, using the red tape because we don't want this falling apart. It would be a lot faster and simpler to use the other tape, but when we're making cards, unlike scrapbooking, they don't sit behind a memory protector and are held in place. They tend to go through the mail and they get opened up and played around with, and it's really important to keep them nice and secure and sturdy. Now, if you don't have a score tool, you can really use anything. So I could have used my pencil, I could have used my scissors, absolutely anything. Let's pull these off. And I have to give a plug to these non-stick scissors at the moment. When I first was introduced to Close to My Heart and I saw they had non-stick scissors, it is the first purchase I made. These scissors have probably been with me now for roughly 7 years. Okay, yes, I may have 4 or 5 pairs, but I absolutely love them. They are amazing. Many of my customers have purchased them as well. Left-handers, right-handers, all sorts. Licorice, all sorts. So there's one. I'm a bit happier as to how that lined up, to be honest, to be sure. Whatever you do, once these are stickified, do not press them together. Otherwise, your card is finished. Okie dokes. I'm going to grab out my tweezers just to make this a little bit easier to lift. Which perhaps I should have done before, but never mind. Now that that has adhesive on it, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come along and gently fold this and then place this in the middle. Now, when you're placing this in the middle of your card, you want to make sure that it lines up with the top and the bottom of the base because they are the same height. So once that is lined up, you want to then open this out like so, and voila, you now have the start of your card. There we go, we're getting there. Next, we're going to take this tunnel. We're going to glue it into the middle, which is now the top centerpiece, roughly 1.5 inches from the bottom. So again, I'm going to take this, line it up with the bottom. Now, if you want to, you can always just eyeball this, absolutely fine. But some of us need exact directions. So I'll line this up again, I'll get my little pencil, and this one is going to go at about 1.5 inches. So I just need the tiniest of marks. Again, I'm going to put some adhesive on these two sides where I can see there's the join. If you're not sure, just have a look inside your tunnel. There's the join, and I want to put adhesive on these two sides of the join. Now you'll notice that I haven't put adhesive smack bang in the middle. There's a reason for that. I don't actually want it sticking straight to the middle. And similarly, I will not put this all the way across. I want it to go from these to the edge, from the middle to the edge, and not into the middle. Okay, so now we're going to take this, we'll put it on that little mark, and we're going to close this over like so, and squeeze, and there you have it, ladies. How gorgeous is that? All together. And I'm going to just move these because I feel like loving, and they're sticking everywhere. Final couple of things. One is to take these small pieces, and these get stuck onto these little pieces here. Now with this, you won't be able to open that right up. That's just not how the card works. Actually, yes, you should be able to open that right up so it goes in the envelope. So with this, you should be able to open that right up so it will fit in the envelope. So just give it a little bit of a squish down, and then pop these on. And isn't that just beautiful? So your card is all decorated as far as papers and everything go. The final touch, if you want to, is you can add these acetate pieces with little bits of decoration. Now on this card I have used stars, but for this card I actually went ahead and I stamped and thin cut some other shapes. So using the Chasing Sunshine Stampin' Thin Cuts, I used this little flower here, and using a very old Tutti Frutti scrapbooking Stampin' Thin Cut, I used this one here. This is a die. Took me a little bit to decide what colour to stamp the flowers, but I ended up going with red, so I have red flowers and a gold heart. To put these on, I've got my little pieces of acetate, and these can be cut to any size you want. I have, however, cut them to 1/4 of an inch wide, and the reason for that is because most adhesives are 1/4 of an inch. I do recommend again using your red tape to stick these on. So just cut almost 1/4 of an inch of red tape. I'm going to use my tweezers, just get my fat fingers out of the way, and stick that onto each of these. Normally we say about 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Do you have the recipe for whatever I'm cooking tonight? It's 6 o'clock now.
Okay, I'll be finished in a few minutes and then I'll come and sort it, okay? With them stuck down nicely, I'm then just going to take these off and we will put the little flowers onto these and the heart. Now with the heart, I'm going to put it on a little bit of an angle rather than just up and down, and it gives me a bit more scope when I put it into the card. So once these are stuck to the tops, obviously I then need to stick these inside the box. So I'm going to put adhesive on the bottoms of these as well, But I'm just going to have a quick look and see if these are too long, which they may well be. Remembering that this is 5 inches and that fits in a 5-inch envelope, you don't want them sticking up above there because otherwise it's not going to fit in your envelope, which defeats the purpose. So they should be fine. I'm going to put a little bit of a longer bit of red tape on them so they stick nicely. They're a little bit too long, but I'm just going to put longer red tape on them. Now these, remember, are very sticky, so I don't want them to overlap or touch anything particularly, otherwise I will lose my little decorations. I also just want to work out how I'm going to put them in the card, and I might just put them so that I've got 2 flowers, the heart, and then 2 flowers. So we'll do 1 flower about there, another one there, making sure that it's not going up above the top of the card. Do my heart. Down here. Another flower there, and then another one down there, and there we have it. There we have it, girls. The last thing that I do need to do is just pop that on the back, but before I do that, I will stamp a sentiment on it. So I'll stamp something on it before I stick it down, otherwise if I stick it down I'm not going to be able to stamp anything on it. So there you go, girls. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have any questions, tips or anything, feel free to post it in the comments. Otherwise I look forward to seeing you in the next card making video. Stay safe, keep crafting, and bye for now.